And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening. Who do we have in the chat today? Um, welcome. Wing, welcome. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Why You So Extra. Um, it's essentially an epic talk show where we host changemakers and explore what it takes to put the extra into the extraordinary. And on this show, we speak with various change makers from around the world, but mostly Malaysia as of right now, that inspires us, whether big or small, who are doing that little extra to make a difference. My name is Andrew, and I'll be your host today. And joining next to me is my co-host Johnson Uy himself, the co-founder of Extraordinary People Impacting Community, aka Epic. Johnson. Welcome. How are you?
Very good. Are you saying it three times because this is our third episode, Andrew?
Is this our
I,
third episode?
I see what you did there. Yes, this is our third episode. I'm
Good.
very excited about today. We have a very exciting guest with us, where we will be sure to learn a lot of wisdom. There's a couple of reasons why I'm very excited about this. I think first of all, the guest that we have, Thomas. I'm sure it's not a secret anymore because it's out there.
Yeah.
Inspires me. You know that really age is not a limitation to adventure. And honestly, when I grow up, um, I want to keep that optimism and that energy and that sense of adventure, and I hope to be able to learn from Thomas today how to achieve that. And also, I'm sure, I believe that Thomas has a lot of exciting stories for us as well. I like to put it out there to our viewers that in the last 2 years we've spent most of our time cooped up because of MCO,
Mm.
and honestly, if you're looking to get into the outdoors, you're looking for something unique and also meaningful, you wouldn't want to miss this session, because Thomas and friends, from 4x4 Relief Malaysia, they host off-road adventures where you can enjoy the outdoors, flex your adventurer muscles with like-minded individuals, and at the same time help rural communities as well. So if you're interested, please stay behind. We have a very exciting episode for you. Back to you,
Indeed,
Andrew.
indeed, Johnson. I suppose, without further ado, it's time to bring on our very special guest today. So, he is, I think, in a lot of people's mind, or at least in mine, in my mind, right? He is a legendary, a living legend, so to speak. Definitely a globetrotter who's traversed more countries than you can imagine. He's iconic, and I think a word that he likes to use is the golden hearts. I'm sure he'll agree. He is the golden heart, Mr. Adventure, 4x4, Mr. 4x4 himself, Thomas Foo. What a pleasure having you as here today.
How are you doing, Thomas?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you, Johnson and Andrew. And thank you for inviting me to tell my stories. If it doesn't bore you too much, hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No way.
great. Yes, I will try our best to make it as entertaining as possible. Okay, Andrew. Good.
Great.
Oh
Thank
no,
you.
just
Thank you
just
very
be
much.
yourself. Just be yourself, Tom. I think we
Yep,
get
yep,
plenty
yep,
of it.
yep, yep. So, yes, I'm Thomas, and I've been doing four-wheel drive for past 30 over years, and but that has left a big vacuum in my life. And then now the my life is I'm very old, 65 years old, and it's more meaning and more dimension and more variety and more depth. Since about 10 years ago, we started 4x4 Relief to, like Johnson say, do sustainable projects for the rural communities, mainly the Orang Asli in Malaysia. So yes, that is what we're doing now. 4x4 is a hobby, but 4x4 and Relief is a wholesome activity. Yeah.
Wholesome
So
activity.
yeah, yeah, and very heartwarming. And you need to be passionate about it, and you need to be healthy, uh, and you need God's grace as well. And you need to step out of your door. You need to go outdoors. You need to visit the jungles of Malaysia. You need to go and see for yourself uh, places out of this world, in in Africa, in South America, in Nepal, in Siberia.
Wow. Okay, I think that's plenty, and I think you've touched on many different elements that I think many of us would really get excited about. But if you could sum up, what 4x4 Relief Malaysia does to our audience, would you be able to do that? Like what would the perhaps the average what would an average expedition or adventure look like?
Uh, a local expedition to ASEAN would be in the region of, I would say, anything from 10 days to a month. ASEAN covering Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Myanmar, and even up to southern China. That is on the expedition part. And an expedition to, let's say, for example, to Mongolia, to Siberia, uh, to Africa, or to South America will be 2 months at least. And that will involve a lot of time, of course, and a lot of preparation, a lot of reconnaissance, and not too much cost. The cost is only to ship your vehicle there, and we. The idea is to visit the unique places lah. Avoid all the tourist traps lah. Or that will it cost you 2 months lah. Like for example, in 2019, just before the pandemic, we had a event called the Trans Amazon, from Argentina to Paraguay to Brazil to Guyana to Suriname to French Guiana for 2 months, and we visited 11 Amazonian Indian reservations and villages, and it was a first-hand information to see how people live in the Amazon forest, and it's a big eye opener for me as well. So that would be 2 months. Local expedition would be a month, and for Malaysian, let's say you do a local expedition to even to Kelantan, it will take you a week like this. So it depends on your timing. Like you can do local, regional, international. Like for example, when we went to Paris 2 years ago, we chose the cut through China and then China into Mongolia, to Siberia, and we visited a lot of backwater places in Mongolia, and saw how the Kazakhs live and how they train and find food using the eagles. And so those kind of trips will be also 2 months.
Wow.
So that,
Yeah, Thomas, like I'm hearing a lot of where you've been, like how far you've been in recent times as well, right? But I'm quite curious as to how did you actually develop this sense of adventure? Like of all things you can, I suppose, pick up as a hobby, right? Why off-roading? Why adventuring? Yeah, and perhaps the day that you actually got into this, did you actually see yourself being so involved and to this day as well, you're still doing that um, from the very beginning?
yes.
Curious to know.
it's our human desire and curiosity to see the world. Really, you when I was a kid, I my first trip was, it all started with me having a bicycle, cycling around my neighborhood when I was a kid. Then at 9 years old, I would cycle to Port Dickson. And then at 15 years old, I would learn to ride a motorcycle without a license and and ride to Singapore. Of course, I couldn't get in. And then when you are in uni, then you have a little bit of money, you buy a motorcycle and go wandering all over Europe, even up to Israel. So it is the curiosity and desire to understand, to build bridges, the desire to promote peace, the desire to understand people of different regions, nationalities, that drives you. But the most important thing is you need to have the passion to want to step out of your comfort zone. And the first thing you do is to step out of your, journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step off the door. So once you get out of your comfort zone, then and then also with the big influence of National Geographic, Sir David Attenborough, Discovery Channel, and Jacques Cousteau, and places like Shackleton, inspiring explorers, Sir Edmund Hillary. These are the people that when you read about them, they are so inspiring that you want to go. And we Malaysians are generally in a comfort zone. And you need to want to do it first. Then you can. We Malaysians are very gifted. We are very, our passport is very good. We can go to 185 countries, and then English is spoken almost everywhere in the world. Even when you go to Siberia, the person will be speaking Russian, but when you speak English to him, he will try to speak English to you. And when you go to Brazil, everybody speaks Portuguese. Generally, all the other people in the world, once you speak English, they try to accommodate you. So we are gifted in such a way that we have got, and then England in the past is a big Commonwealth country, and it's the influence of the historical history, influence of geography, influence of all these explorers, Sir David Livingstone. I was reading about Sir David Livingstone making his first trip from Cairo to Cape Town. And that's when he discovered Victoria Falls in 1887. And then in year 2000, I started planning that I want to do a trip from Cape Town to Cairo, the reverse of what Sir David Livingstone did. So eventually I did it in 2007, making a trip from Cape Town to Cairo through retracing the steps of Sir David Livingstone. And an example is, like for example, Sir Edmund Hillary, the guy who first submitted Everest. So you trace the steps, and then you think, he can do it, I can do it. So then you start with flying to Lukla and start hiking to Everest Base Camp. And of course, we didn't make it to Everest, but we do what we can. So Sir David Attenborough, with all these fantastic documentaries, it's very inspiring. So it's all this inspiration that drives us.
Yeah. And I think most people, right? We maybe have the energy to go on one big adventure, and then after that, that's it, lah. Then we go back to maybe normal living. But in your case, I understand that 4x4 relief is an extension of what you do. I mean, besides that, like it's pretty much like a lifestyle to you, and your business also involves encouraging people to explore and all that. Now I wonder what actually motivated you to go to that extent. So it seems like you're not just doing adventure for your sake, but you're also trying to give adventures, or you're trying to get everyone else involved in it as well.
Yes, by doing adventures and exploring and relief, you are pushing yourself to a new level. In relief, so many people will ask me, Thomas, how do you raise the money to feed 500 families of Orang Asli that cost in the region of $50,000? Then I always tell them that you must want to do it first. Then when you are doing something good, God will give you the money. So you must want to do it first. In everything you do, the money should be the last consideration. And the driving force is Malaysians, everybody have got a big driving force. It's just that we are being held back by too many pre-event thoughts that hold you back. But if you let your mind free, and by doing 4x4, going to the unknown, going to a relief operation where anything happen anytime, or you are actually putting yourself into a position, you're training yourself to be more brave and pushing yourself to a higher limit. And if you do it often enough, then in relief, when we started 10 years ago, nobody knew us that how do you start, but think big and do small, start small. So in expeditions, in relief, we have to think big, but we start small. And as far as the money is concerned, when you're doing something good, when you're building bridges, doing God's work, God will give you the money. And in all these years, we have never had not enough funding for our building projects, our small building projects, our sustainability, greenhouses, supplying food to relieve, alleviate tension and stress among the Orang Asli communities. So at the end of the day, we have to want and dare to do it first. Don't worry about the money. And the Malaysians worry too much about money. And once you get over this hurdle, then the world is your limit. The world is there's no limit.
Like that. I like that a lot, Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to you guys have been around for a while, and I think during the course of the pandemic, not that it's not happening now, but especially when it really first broke out, right? I think you guys were one of the more, for lack of a better word, active groups out there who were really, really on their toes. I think you guys made yourself available quite quickly to us as well, and you said to us like we have a bunch of resources and we like to help. And I think it was true that phone call or that partnership, that couple of first time collaborations, until today we notice a number of volunteers still volunteering with 4x4 Relief Malaysia as well, and we're really, really happy to see that. I'm
Yep.
quite curious as to know if, aside from what you've mentioned, is there anything that pushes or motivates you, or is your main driving force behind this? Whether it's just coming off a passion or a hobby or an interest of adventuring or going off road, but also the emphasis on helping others, right? Yeah, I think that's quite a interesting synergy to combine the element of adventure with the element of servitude of serving others. Um, so perhaps on challenging times or difficult moments, like maybe in the past years, what gives Thomas that edge?
It's at the end of the day, the most important driving force lah. It is everybody is able to make a difference in this world. In COVID, the whole country is fighting COVID. I mean, we should not be sitting at home and doing nothing. We should be doing what we can. A simple thing is, at the end of the day, the driving force is to be able to help our neighbors, our brothers, our sisters, our government, and then our community, and the willingness to help is the driving force. And then also with when you talk to your friends, when you have an idea, when you want to support the Ministry of Health to make a face shield, face mask, PPE, with extreme sincerity. People, friends, and now will see it through your eyes. And generally, Malaysians have a very, very good heart. And when you explain to them and how we're going to do it, why we're going to do it, when we're going to do it, from where we're going to do it, and come up with a plan, it will work. So the driving force is really, it comes up with an idea. And once you convince your friends to follow through, that is the main driving force. It's like moral support. Like for example, right now we identify that there are 450 families in the Sungai Koyan region that have just been released from the Enhanced Movement Control Order, EMCO, the last region of Peninsular Malaysia that was released from EMCO. And the families there are very stressed. And once we get the information, then once we decide and willing to help out, then we talk to some sponsors, highlight the plight, and then the first sponsor agrees, then that is the biggest inspiration. Once when we explain, highlight the issues with sincerity, then the minute your friends or sponsors or colleagues or whatever support you, that's the inspiration. And also, like for example, when I organize sorry. And also, like for example, when I go on trips, when I want to, 2 years ago I said, shall we ride our motorcycle to Paris? And then I talked to the right guys, I said, when do we start? That's it. That's the inspiration. That's the driving force. You throw ideas, we might be throwing 10 ideas, I will say, hey, let's ride to Africa, or let's ride to London, or let's go and ride in Australia. Some guys say, okay, let's go to Paris. Fine, we go. And then when for this holistic work, for example, I will talk to example Datuk Zainal and said that, hey, in post-bring, they need a school, because the kids, we believe that when you educate them, you lead them to freedom, you lead them to education. And then Datuk Zainal said, okay, Thomas, tell me what you need. That's it. That's the inspiration. The most important thing is the first person or the second person you discuss your idea, and if he or she supports, that's when your inspiration comes from. So
Yeah.
So we Malaysians must dare to dream. So we must dream, and then we must talk to people and turn the dreams into vision and vision to reality.
I can't help but notice that, it seems like you're really a man of action. So when Andrew asked that question, what is it that gives you that edge? It's not, oh, let's sit around, let's plan it to perfection, let's get my emotions and my feelings in order, then I go and do. But in fact, you actually get into action first, and then it's the payoff that helps build that momentum, the
Yes.
fulfillment, whether it's the success of the project, whether it's camaraderie, whether it's in inspiring other people, that then just drives you to just do more and more. I wonder if this is the kind of mindset that you cultivate, while pushing yourself to the limits, outdoor.
Yes, yes, that's exactly like, for example, Malaysians. Most Malaysians like I said, we are in a pretty good comfort zone, right? And it's tickling Malaysians to be more daring, dare to dream, and then it's plucking the goodness of people, plucking the boy out of for adventure. We are plucking the boy out of a man. Let's say he could be 50 years old, but talk to him about when he was a Boy Scout, when he was in school days, and then go into that angle. And then once he gets excited, you can see his eyes, glowing. That's when you've got him. And once he supports you, then you've got one guy, and then he will also in turn promote or influence or get his friends in. In all our relief operations is the same like any overseas expedition. We identify a need, we know there's a need, and then we start talking to people, and with sincerity, with a basic rough plan, and once you get the support, it's on.
Mm.
So, like for example, next week we'll be going for a clinic bill in the Endau Forest, in one of the villages. It all started because when we talked to the villagers there, they said they needed a clinic. So I came back and I spoke to some of our members. Out of 5 guys I spoke to, 3 guys said, when do we start? So that's when the inspiration comes in, and that's my driving force. If you have got a idea or plan, and you talk to somebody, and out of 5 guys talk to 4 guys said, it won't work, then I will ask him, why do you think it doesn't work? Oh, we don't have enough money, it doesn't work. And then why are we giving them fish again, and why don't we teach them how to fish? Then we approach it from another angle, but still the driving force.
Great. I think we've covered a lot about like the different process and how we get there, and what happens in the payoff. But I think perhaps for the benefit of our audience, right? If we could maybe get into perhaps an experience that you've had, of one of your adventures. Say for example, I mean, since Andrew is here, maybe you can share with us like how, to give people an idea of how one of your adventures went. Let's say for example the build or the mission that you guys went in during 2021 New Year's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Andrew, feel free to share with us as well. What was that
Yeah, I
like?
think it's still quite fresh in the back of my mind. Obviously, we went in there. Supposedly, it was like a 4 days, 3 night um, project, right, to build a couple of latrines, a jungle school, and whatnot. And I think we end up staying for another 10 days, if I'm not wrong, something like
Yes,
that.
and they,
A lot more than we thought. So, I mean, it's still very fresh in the back of my mind, and until today, I'm still very thankful. Like, the group of people that were there, new and old, people who I haven't met before, and people who have met. I think when we realized that we couldn't quite leave Thomas, where was it again? The Sungai, what's the Sungai's name?
The location is Sungai Jentera.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 48 kilometers
Away
away
from
from
Kuala
main
Musang.
road.
Okay, from the
90
main road.
kilometers from Kuala Musang.
Yeah.
90
We
kilometers
were,
from Kuala Musang.
yeah. I think I remember this moment where I asked Thomas how can go out. Thomas say, well, we'll see lah. Tomorrow we'll see how the rain, the weather and stuff. I was like, okay. And then the next day or so, more and more people asked, right? Are we leaving today? Should we back up? Should we not back up? And I think there were three instances where literally everyone packed up everything, their own belongings, the tents, the kitchenware, everything, squeaky clean, only to reset it,
Yeah.
set it up again because we couldn't leave due to the weather. The river wasn't subsiding or anything like that. But I remember the key thing that I took away was that, despite all the struggles and challenges that we all face as a group, right, no one gave up on anyone. And if anything, for lack of better word, the more seniors, they really showed us that they're a force to be reckoned with. And
Mm.
age is really, as cliche as it gets, right? Age is just a number. Yeah, Thomas, the likes of Thomas, I think Timmy as well. Um, Timmy, a good friend, showed us that age really is just a number, and the mind is so much more um, crucial and important in that sense, right? Like it really influences what you do, and what I
Yeah,
went through that time was
perhaps
quite
you
a
could
trip.
share what are some of the experiences you guys went through, what are some of the challenges, what was maybe some of the highlights.
Um, Well, I say the challenges, the obvious one was just a lack of resource. You're talking about clean water, you're talking about food. Um, we had to ration food for a couple of days. We had to call in emergency. I remember emergency food. The Orang Asli nearby were brought in right through the motorboat. They brought bread, they brought sardines, sugar, Milo, cooking oil, and then that only extended us for like a couple more days. Um, I think earlier in the conversation, Thomas mentioned about stepping out of your comfort zone. I think that was one of the more memorable things that I noticed. A lot of people were forced in a way to step out of their comfort zone. They were also put in a position where now they have to reevaluate what was actually important for them. Is rushing back home for work important, or is going back to see your family important? Because we were really in the unknown. We're not sure when we're going to leave, how long more we're going to be here, and things like that. So I think that was a timely reminder and also a very good message to kind of kickstart the year. You celebrate New Year with a really, really different perspective. Yeah. But I cannot ignore the fact that we had to slaughter chickens that were meant to be brought out for consumption. We had to slaughter them on the spot. And they were kampung chickens, right? So not too meaty or fleshy, but I was the one in charge of plucking the feathers. So that was a that was quite an experience, yeah, for me.
So in your case, he didn't pluck the boy out of the man lah. He turned the boy into a man.
Yeah, you could say so. You could say so. Yeah.
But that experience is the 10 days that we were stuck there. The most crucial activity was to have the morale
True.
high, number one,
True.
by not letting anybody stay idle. So it was a good time to teach jungle survival skills, making handcrafts and making little cutting tools and finding
Food,
uh,
ubi kentang.
vegetables, how to identify this ubi kayu and identifying how to find food, basically how to catch fish and how to harness rainwater from leaves and how to keep yourself entertained. That was basically at the same time going on food rationing. If you remember from I think day 6 onwards, we rationed the food. Everybody was getting one scoop of rice, and we had we had the program, we had allocate the rice to last us for another 2 weeks, one scoop of rice, and then one half a piece of sardine, you remember, with a lot of gravy. And then I remember the chef asked me, Thomas, shall we put in more chili? I said, yeah, make it hot. Make it spicy.
What, really? Oh my gosh.
And then example, the rations for rice against hunger mixed with dal was meant to be eaten as rice, but I said no, turn it into porridge and put in more water. And then at the end of the day, also we were stretching the ubi kayu, which we dug up, and then the pucuk paku,
Oh, yes.
and another slimy purplish leaf, can't remember the name. And then we were plucking also beans from the ground, and then also digging up groundnuts, peanuts, and catching small fish, and stretching it. So basically, and then there were a lot of games, and then we built an additional toilet for ourselves at the campsite. With the bamboo, with bamboo, and then also banana leaves. And then we also taught how to service at cars, and
Oh, yes,
then
yes.
yeah, and how to do recovery and play games. And remember, you guys were lifting K Rock, which is a
Oh,
100, which was 100 kilo load with just your fingers.
yep. So Johnson, 4 people lifted a guy weighing more than 100 kilos with just their
Fingers.
pinky, actually, I think. No. Maybe with the fingers. Yeah. That's a story for another day for sure.
Yeah.
But
I think,
yeah.
yeah, I think it'd be quite hard for us to imagine how is that even possible with especially with a couple of sardines and some pucuk paku, and how do you lift 100 kg person with just your fingers?
Yeah. And then also we're teaching them how to make simple handicrafts, to keep everybody entertained. And basically, when you convert the entire period into a learning process, then it keeps the morale high.
Sometimes I wonder if it was designed to be that way. Thomas intentionally got us stuck there so that we can spend so much more extra time together.
So you can learn about life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. But I really like
And
I really like the part where you mentioned about the morale, Thomas. I think that was something that it kind of slipped my mind. But going back there, reminiscing, right? I remember that the entire camp was so happy, and there was just that togetherness, and that definitely made it a lot more bearable. And not only bearable, it became enjoyable after a while. People didn't quite want to leave if they had a choice or so. I remember it.
Yep.
Yeah, and it also struck to me that during the whole process, um that was my second time volunteering on the relief mission, and I could see like there's a slight difference from the first to the second time. Even though the duration and the location was different, I noticed that there's a little more emphasis on youth, and I wonder if that's intentional in your missions that you're going to carry out in the future.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yes, it's
sorry.
intentional. Yes, it's intentional because this concept, this mentality of spreading, uh, helping the rural communities, and you have to propagate the mindset. You have to promote it, and okay, we are getting on with age. We've been doing it for so long. So it was necessary to have young people to be channeled towards this kind of humanitarian, charitable causes. So and I was actually very, very totally impressed from the young builders from Epic. None of them are like worried about leeches or sandflies, and then everybody was very gung ho. I could see 25-year-old office young girls, digging shit holes and and climbing up big scaffolding pipes, holding power drills and using the grinders and power saws. It's totally impressed. You don't see it in our current society, and you only see it in the bill. And Epic has trained them so well. It was blew my socks off. So with the knowledge of Bill, then we wanted to instill more these charitable humanitarian causes, not only from the Build angle for the rural communities. We have to also look at the educational aspect. We also have to look after the psychological aspect. We also have to look after their happiness aspect by introducing jungle school, by introducing greenhouses, by maybe going into animal husbandry, and then going into PR games with them, so that we are trying to propagate this movement. The relief movement has become a movement. What Epic is doing, what we are doing is, I do not see, we work with so many other NGOs, whether it's a big one, small ones. I do not see many other NGOs doing projects. Everybody seems to be involved in just giving food, and that's it. And we all know that we have to propagate this sustainability concept to the rural communities. So with the young people coming on board, I don't mind telling you, our next bill, our Jigs is going to be a major big team leader, and then Suan is going to be another team leader guiding his own team, and and from the training with Epic and with the involvement with us, we hope now that to train up a few key personnel to be able to one day take on big things and lead another NGO to propagate this movement. Just like when we were a kid, you join the Boy Scouts, then eventually you become a Scout Master, then you train younger guys, to propagate the movement. So the relief movement, I believe, what Epic is doing, what we are doing, has become a humanitarian movement more than just helping the rural community, and then off we go. It's a continuous process.
Yeah.
That's why young people is important.
Yeah, no, thanks for covering that. And I think on behalf of Epic, I think we're very, very privileged to have the opportunity to serve alongside you guys as well. Of course, I hope for the opportunity at some point to personally get involved in this particular project. But I think so happy to hear how our fellow volunteers, master builders, Swan Jigs in particular that you mentioned, how they are serving so well in your community. Of course, props, to them. They're champions in their own right as well. I'm so glad that they've also found other avenues to make a difference too.
Yeah. Not only guys like Suan and Jigs, I mean Epic members like Jack, Y Wing, they have now become so so involved, involved that they're starting to pull other people like Karine. She was a new builder, and then now she's so involved in humanitarian work, and then it's changing her mindset. It's not, and then a lot of young people that used to go clubbing and partying, now come and tell me, hey Thomas, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do this more. So it's
win.
Yeah. It's cultivating a new, a useful, and then a good character building exercise. Besides all the adventures and all the humanitarian work we're doing.
Yeah. That's really wonderful. If I could just circle back, I know just circle back to one of the things that we're talking about earlier, in overcoming adversity out there, and I've only heard stories. I've not been there, but hearing from Andrew and some of the other participants of the last mission in January of this year. I mean, it seems to me like they pretty much, their life is in your hands, and because they're new, and so they don't know what to expect, and so whatever you say, they'll believe you, lah. But I'm sure that for you and your other veterans, right, out there, where do you find, or how do you find that ability, to just overcome one problem after the other? Because, from not knowing when you're going to go back to not being in control of the elements. In that case, it was the floods or the rainfall. And I understand that there were broken bridges, there were trucks overturning in the river. Of course, everybody was safe. But the truck overturned, and you had to drag it out or leave it there. There's so many different adversities to what you're going to eat and all that. How do you find that mental space or the ability to overcome these things one after the other?
Yes, Johnson, that is a fantastic question. And the big secret is that, to me, is consultation. It's I have a problem, and right now, and I put it into our chat group, and I tell honestly, this is a problem. And every time, without fail, I'm shocked by what the members can propose. And it could be a veteran, or it could be a totally new person who is totally fresh, but it's extracting the new ideas from the younger group and from the older group, and merging them together that solve all problems. When we're talking about keeping the morale high, I speak to a group of them at night, because I purposely chose to be in the same campsite as all the young builders, all Epic's 25 young builders. But you don't get a lot of sleep because the noise is non-stop the next morning. So, you talk to them, you discuss with them, and so you handle the younger group. And then when we have got problems on our cars, on the situation, we talk to discuss with the veteran group. And when you merge all these brilliant ideas, we didn't have any problems overcoming. It's the problem really starts when somebody takes it upon himself to decide everything, and no one is comparable to 3, 4, 5, 10 people's ideas. But you listen. The idea is to speak to people, extract the ideas, and make a firm decision. But without doing that, you cannot make this firm decision. So in all adversities, all problems, at the end of the day, it's all about consultation. It's getting the whole group involved that is most important.
Wow.
Like a simple example is this morning we are supposed to collect some food stuff from a sponsor, and it was an urgent matter, and it was a simple matter of me putting it into our chat group, and then I got the necessary trucks, and then it was done. And then just now, only before this live session went on, we were discussing how to move 6 tons of food to Sungai Koyan this Saturday. And then some member says, okay, we will mobilize so. And within half an hour, we sorted out the logistics problem. So we found a big truck. Some member had volunteered his big truck. a 5-ton truck to move 6 tons of food to Sungai Koyan. So what I'm trying to say is that the easiest way to solve any adversity or problem is by consultation. And with people, the people involved. And the biggest mistake is to be too dictatorial and autocratic and make your own decision and think that is good. It's the best. No, it must be a good decision. I mean, our voluntary outfit, like social enterprises, Johnson, you lead a big group of people, but all of us, we need, everybody is very, very intelligent, and they have the matter at heart, so they will help you solve it. That's my way. Even when I go expeditions, we were stuck in Sudan, and we couldn't cross the border because we couldn't find the exit point. So I talked to the whole group, presented the situation, and then we came up with a solution. And then next day we broke ourselves into 4 teams, and then we had radios. So every 10 minutes we checked with each other to find the correct route. You know, we were lost in the desert. So if I had not consulted the whole group, you know, then the blame would be coming on me, and then you would not be able to solve the problem. But once you involve the entire group session, whatever problems is solvable.
No, that's very powerful, Thomas. I'm so glad that we got to hear that and learn that from you. Yeah. So could you tell us, you know, in all your different adventures, you know, what has been your most perhaps like the most inspirational challenge or inspirational moment, and what has been your toughest challenge? If you could just share those stories with us.
Yeah. Toughest challenge was when we were in Africa. We had to cross from Ethiopia to Eritrea, and Eritrea to Sudan, and the countries were at war. And we had to go and negotiate with the warring parties on the both sides of the border to allow us safe passage. That must have been the toughest situation we have got ourselves into. Even though we have got government approval to cross, but when you are there, he is the boss of that place. Whatever approval you have got from the city or from the government is another story. And then also, my toughest moment expedition was, it's what happened, we were in Nepal, and at the time there was a movement by the Maoist group to throw out the monarchy, the king, you know, and we were stopped by the so-called the activists and the rebels, and they wanted our trucks, and we negotiated, and so that must be the toughest moment. And then otherwise, the difficult times would be getting lost in the middle of a desert, and then with rations running low. Those are the challenges. But again, whatever problems you have is by negotiation and consultation. If human beings can negotiate to stop a war, we can negotiate to have safe passage through. So it's all by negotiation, and humble yourself. That's the way to go. So, and then another experience I have come across was in when we were driving in the death road in Bolivia, and one of our trucks kind of skidded, and the tire was off the side of the road, and that was my most scary moment. because if the truck had fallen over, it would be 1,000 feet down. So we literally asked the people in the car to freeze, don't do anything. You know, it was 1/3 of the vehicle was off the road and into the ravine. And with the other trucks, you know, we kind of slowly, softly hook up the winch cables, front, back, and so on, so on, and pull it back. That must have been my most scary moment in my 30 years of exploring. And then another time when I was really worried was the first time I went to the Amazon, and we met these the Amazonian Indians, and they didn't allow us passage through because they are in their ancestral land, and so in the end we stayed where we are and camped there, and they look at us, we look at them. And eventually they saw that we are not, we don't have any weapons, we are not there to harm them. So, and then we, with body language, good body language, you know, with common sense, so they felt that we are good people, we are not there to do anything, because they are sick and tired of people coming up to cut their trees and burn their forests and so on and so forth. So they thought we were one of them, and they became hostile. And it's through sincerity, and when they're hostile, they kill you. So that was one of the scary moments I have in Brazil, in Nepal, being hijacked by the Maoists. Bolivia, the car is off the ravine. I mean, almost in the ravine, and negotiating for safe passage across the warring nations of Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Sudan. So, but human beings are reasonable people. It's you have to approach it with a good heart, and it works. Always works. And of course, with divine intervention, pray very hard too.
And here I thought what I went through in January was the scariest thing, but nothing come close to what Thomas just
Now,
shared.
now you know why he's got the presence of mind to create a learning experience for you kids.
Oh gosh. Wow.
That's amazing.
Well, Thomas, I may have a potentially difficult question. Well, not really difficult, but I think it's one of the questions that you may have been asked before, and it's for the people out there who may or may not say right something like, "Oh, I'm too old for this," this is not for me, not my cup of tea and whatnot. I'm too old for this. I shouldn't be doing this at this age. Just wondering, what's your take on that? Do you respond with rage? It's like, what do you mean too old for this? Look at us, look at me, or do you actually, feel something different from this?
Yes, because in our relief outfit, we have got so many functions. When you are old but you've got a fantastic brain, it's a matter of tapping out on the strength of everybody. You could be old but you are experienced, and you have got networking. And you could be old but we don't expect you to be holding a power tool, climbing a water tank, and then or trying to cement some flooring. But you have got a good brain, you've got network, you can connect. So if you're old, you are knowledgeable, you have got good friends, and then you can work as a network person helping us. And then, like for example, then some guy will come and tell me that I cannot walk properly and so on and so forth. Okay, come and be my HQ. Help me do registration. Help me talk to help me go to the Orang Asli kampongs and talk to the senior citizens. So when an older person, let's say my age or even 70 years old, goes to me the Orang Asli kampong, I will put them in charge of PRing the older generation. That
So
feels better.
there's always a role for anyone as long as there's a will.
Yeah, and then of course the classic case is that some guy will come and tell me that I cannot speak English very well. I'm only a mechanic assistant. Great. So go into my mechanical support team. And then another person would be saying that I only know how to do IT. I don't know how to. I've never hold a screwdriver before. I've never hold a hammer before. I've never used I don't even know what's a Bakita power tool. Never mind, you don't have to know. But I take pictures, right? Good. You're a photographer. You're a lock keeper. So and then another guy can come and tell me, Thomas, I'm in IT. The only thing I can do is look at computers. Okay, good. Handle my website. Brilliant. So whether you are young, old, male, female, 70 years old, 25 years old, whether you're introvert, extrovert, there's always we have got 15 divisions in our relief group. If you look at our website, you can choose all the functions you can contribute to. I have had people asking me, but I'm only a nurse, in the clinic kesihatan. But tapi I minat ni camping lah. No problem, come, And I said, you boleh masak ah? Boleh. So you put in the F&B team. So everybody is fine. And then old is not an issue because old people have got good heads, very powerful networking. They've got big friends. And most of my sponsors connect. Okay, I'm not saying old people lah, but people who have been around for a while lah.
I've got another question.
Sure.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. So different projects that you do. I hear that you do builds, toilets, water systems, farms. It seems to be quite a wide range of different things. How do you ensure that these needs from whatever community that you work with are genuine, are a genuine need, and the project is genuine, and it's not just an excuse for an adventure or to chase an adrenaline high?
Well, get involvement from the villagers. Ask them, consult them, engage them. Okay, this one I have to say I learned from Colin Nicholas a long time ago. He says, Thomas, when you work with the Orang Asli committees, the first thing you do is you talk to them, you understand them, you find out the problems, and then ask them whether they want to do this. When they totally agree, and then they commit, and then you present to them, you involve them, then you do it. So every Orang Asli project which we do, it is we suggest to them a series of projects, whether building a greenhouse or a jungle school or a chicken coop or toilets or even installing solar systems. Give them a choice, and then they'll say, oh, kita perlu satu klinik lah. Just like the Wovo, which we are going to do over the Deepavali weekend. They have got Jacob is building a house. They don't have water. They don't have electricity. And then the question they asked was, kalau boleh kita nak satu klinik. Pasal bila doktor mari, when the doctor comes, they are looking at the patients and the women, due to the modesty issue, they don't have a place. So they asked me for a clinic. So we built a clinic. And then they said, kalau boleh, then they would like to have a toilet, a communal toilet lah. Bila ada pelawat datang ke mana, okay, so we build a toilet. And then we ask them, what about the water? Oh, sini tidak ada air. So then kalau kita buat satu perigi, boleh tak? Itu they are very grateful lah. So then we lock in. They need tube well, they need toilets, and they ask for a clinic. They didn't ask for food, surprisingly. And then we asked them, what do you do with the fish? Oh, he said, so with involvement and with engagement now, you find out. You have to engage them. No way it's no such thing as you build something and then give it to them. No, it doesn't work that way. Our school in Post Spring, we have got 3 teachers from the village itself, 3 teachers, and then they look after. One is they rotate. At 1 month, this woman cooks, and then the 2 other teach. Then every 3 months they rotate. So engagement. And then for the chicken cooks this time, we are allocating 3 families per cook. And we got 15 families that agree. Yes, they want. Okay, do it. Must engage.
I really like what you mentioned, Thomas. Of just it may be a simple task, but I think more often than not, people tend to forget, and that's just to ask and communicate, right? And rather than assume, this, that, this, we actually just take the initiative to ask and engage the communities that we're working with. Johnson, if you have no further questions, I think in the interest of time, I'd like to just kind of summarize or share my takeaways. Like
Sure.
today, having Thomas on, I think, is just amazing feat in itself. Thomas, knowing him, he has really packed schedules, but we're so grateful to have you here today. And for me, I think the main takeaway of just chatting with Thomas for the past hour, right? I wrote down quite a few, and I like a lot of what Thomas mentioned. But the main one that, if I were to pinpoint, is probably to start by think big. This is what Thomas mentioned. Think big, but start small, right? Find will and sincerity and belief in the humanity in Malaysia. That actually Malaysians are very kind. Fundamentally in the course, they're very kind, and also Thomas mentioned many times throughout the session that the value of togetherness cannot be underestimated. And a lot of times that's where Thomas looks to as well, consultation, trusting the peers, trusting the people around him, the community that he's built, that, we can firstly survive through adversities and then thrive on top of that. Is what I really like that Thomas mentioned. And really, as a leader, the value of listening and the keyword that Thomas mentioned was consultation, right? Is to seek help. Don't be afraid to seek help when you need to. And maybe this statement goes beyond just now, but also is now amplified during the pandemic, that a lot of people are maybe ashamed or afraid of being judged, when you seek help. It may put you in a very weak position or very vulnerable position, but I actually think that it's a very it takes a lot of courage, to drop what you think you know and ask and consult the people around you. Um, yeah, I think that would be my main takeaway. Having know Thomas a little
Yeah.
better today. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've summed that up. You pretty much covered my takeaways as well, Andrew.
Of
I
course.
think just to sum up, a very strong statement that Thomas said earlier as well. On the flip side, as opposed to consultation and togetherness and really leveraging off the collective minds of people, is where problems happen when one person tries to do everything on his own, take on all the problems on his own, and thinks that he knows best. Where one mind cannot outthink 10 minds or more. And it's important that, I think one thing I captured was, it's important that we gather the ideas from the different people and have a firm decision made after that to then proceed. Yeah.
Well,
That's
Thomas, perhaps before we end the session, if you have any final closing words for our viewers out there of all
And also
demographics.
tell them how they can get
Yes.
involved in future relief missions.
Okay, I'll answer the easy question first. Uh, to get involved in our relief missions, just go to our website. It's 4x4 relief.org and fill up the form. And then there's a big choice of kind of skills and skill set you can choose. And you surely pick one that is suitable for you. That's one. And then number two, many people have asked me, in closing, I just want to say that many people have asked, why are we giving the Orang Asli food when we should be thinking how to fish, right? In the current pandemic, the reason why we are giving them food is to alleviate their stress. Because with 1.5 years of lockdown, the Orang Aslis have lost their incomes, just like a lot of us have lost our incomes. And for them, the situation is more severe. And with the loss of income, and they have no jobs and no support from EPF or whatever, they are not registered with income tax and whatever, they have a problem of putting food on the table. They might have a brick house provided by Chakwa to live, but they don't have the income source. And when you don't have income source, you cannot buy food. And the only way for them to relieve their massive problem of heart attacks and stroke is to relieve their stress from putting food on the table. And the only way to do that is to, in this current pandemic, at least for the next 6 months or 1 year, we have to support them so that they don't get into serious illnesses. So the reason why we are giving them food at the moment is a temporary measure. And when the situation returns to normalcy, when everybody is going back to work, and when we find that the villages are more or less could sustain on itself, then we will move on to sustainable projects like greenhouses and chicken coops and buying fish off them and etc. So, but now, as you can see, all the food banks and all the sponsors are sponsoring heavily to provide food. Every week we are sending food to the overseas to relieve stress. And they are so thankful, you can see in their faces. So that's what I want to close out with. So for anybody who is listening, and then if you want to help, it's very simple. Just come and join us and help us to pack and help us send food to Orang Asli. That's my closing statement. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you
Thanks so much
Thomas.
for your time, Thomas.
Thank you, Johnson. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys out there, if you enjoyed this session, please, we're on the lookout for more extraordinary people as well. And we don't care whether they're impacting the world in big or small ways as well. We believe there's so much to learn, just like we've learned from Thomas today. So please recommend them to us. I think you'll be able to find your link in our post. Andrew, perhaps would you like to close this?
Sure. First of all, I think thank you. Once again, thank you, Thomas, so much for joining us for today's live. Hold on. I think I'm. Give me a moment. I'm experiencing a technical difficulty. Okay, we should be good now. But yeah, like what Thomas have mentioned, I think it encapsulates a lot of what Epic we're at Epic try to do as well. And if anything, Thomas has shown us that he is more than definitely put the extra into the extraordinary, and we're ever so grateful for having him spend some time with us today on our show. And yeah, like Thomas has mentioned as well, just start, find the immediate needs around you. And if you're wondering like what can you do, right, really is from little you can inspire, and you'll be surprised how much you can ripple and affect others around you. And it may not be as hard as you think. So we hope that by listening to um today's session, it has kind of helped you prepare to have your life change and improve for the betterment of your community. And always remember that all it takes to be extraordinary is to put a little extra into the ordinary. And with that, I'd like to close off today's episode. Thank you once again, my fellow co-host Johnson, um, for joining me on today's session.
Thank you. Always fun. Always fun to do it.
Okay, thank you very much, Nelson.
Yeah.
See you. Bye.
All right, goodbye, goodbye, everyone.
Bye, Andrew. Thank you. Cheers.